Hi, this is Ntlantla Bahati. Me again. I promised I'll be coming back. So I've just played you just a short segment of my song, He is Able. And the reason why I'm playing that song is because of the testimony I'm going to share right now. So God is able. It's based on Ephesians 3:20, to whom is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ever think, we can ever ask, think, or imagine. So that's the journey I've had with God. He's able for me to do exceedingly abundantly above everything that I ever thought, prayed, or imagined. So I find myself in a situation, I'm doing my matric. It's a Saturday afternoon. I was asked to go and help somewhere. I was a very good kind of girl when it comes to washing dishes. So I was asked to go and help with washing the dishes. There was a function somewhere, a bit of a distance from where I lived. And around about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, I had to leave because that was almost like my cut-off time. I never used to be at home later than that unless there was a very specific and serious reason. And I would have reported myself why I would be outside the gates at that time. So I rush out, say my goodbyes, rush out, go to the bus stop to catch a taxi back home, and I stand there until such time that it got dark and the taxis were full from town. I couldn't get a taxi, and before I knew it, a schoolmate that had accompanied me, because they knew I was a domesticated animal and they thought that I wouldn't know my way around and what I would need to do, so someone had to accompany me. And then she accompanies me and we standing there and it gets dark and she sees a car that she got worried and apprehensive about, and I didn't have any relationship with any car or anybody, to that level of intensity. And she tells me, oh my goodness, we are in trouble. I'm like thinking, why would I be in trouble? I'm waiting for my taxi, I'm going home. And she doesn't tell me anything, and she just tells me that she's going to cross the road and stand on the other side so that she can stop the taxis that are still going to town, so that in case they are full from town, I can already be in the taxi. So I thought, like, great idea, And before I knew it, she disappeared right there. It was dark and I couldn't see what was happening across. And the only way you could see what was going on was when the lights of the car was coming through. So anyway, the next thing, I feel a cold metal on my neck. When I turned my head to check what that was. In fact, at first I tried to move it with my hand because I didn't realize. And then I feel that it's a pipe. Okay? And then when I turned my head just to check what was going on. So I got the kind of a smack on my face that got me to smell blood on my nose, and I blacked out a little bit. That's the level of intensity that it was. And when I collected myself back, I could hear the swearings that I've never heard before. And words, B words, F words, and all of those. So my immediate reaction was based on how my grandmother had taught me how to deal with tough and difficult circumstances, because I've had difficult and tough circumstances before. So my immediate, reaction was I lifted both my hands, almost like I was surrendering, and I lifted my eyes up in that, and I was receiving beatings of different intensities at that time, and the swearings telling me to shut up and to keep quiet. They're going to teach me a lesson, and if I wake up the following morning alive, I must thank my God and they were speaking, and I realized that this is not good at all. So I lifted my hands, I looked up in the sky, and I began to say these words. I lift up my hands in the heavens. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. And I'm saying this very loud. They're hearing me. And they lifted me up with my clothes, shoved me into the car, and I had been kicked, bitten, and hit by the back of the gun. And they would be, telling me, I'm going to shoot you if you don't keep quiet. And at that time, I think I was uncontrollable. I just began to speak to the God that I know is the only one that could pull me out of that circumstance. And they tried to tell me to keep quiet. And I was hearing them, but almost like very low volume. I could hear them, and I could hear them increasing the volume of the music in the car. And I kept on speaking, just as I'm speaking to you right now. Speaking to God, I quoted every verse that I knew. And the prominent ones were, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of the darkness and of death, I shall fear no evil. For you have promised that you shall be with me. And I repeated that so many times. And 2 places the car stopped. They drove off with me, and we stopped. At some point, they asked me to walk out and go and knock at a door and ask for the name of the lady. And whilst I was walking out, they told me, if you dare try to run away, we'll shoot you, we'll kill you. We know this place. And of course, I don't know if they knew that I was highly domesticated, and I wasn't streetwise at all. So I wouldn't run away because, they were asking me to go and knock there. I went and knocked. I just relied on God to pull me out of that circumstance. I wasn't going to try and do it on my own. So anyway, I went up the stairs. I got at the door. I knocked, and the lady responded. It was the mom. And she said the person I was looking for wasn't at home. Whether that was true or not, that was another thing, because they knew that used to happen in 1991. That was almost like a daily experience. Most of the girls were raped by a number of people, where they were gang raped. And also, very few of them survived. They were killed. So I knew the news, and I knew that I was right in the middle of that gameplay, and it was only God that was going to pull me out of that. So I came back and I told them that I met and they could have shot me as I was coming back. So, and I kept on speaking, and they were like, are you still praying? Are you still making that noise? You shut up, you wada. So anyway, I gave them the response. I was told that she's not there. Who answered the door? I told them, said, oh, okay. So get in the car. And I was like booted into the car. And I was beaten up, like seriously beaten up, because the biggest issue was I needed to keep quiet, and I wasn't keeping quiet. I spoke with God. I reminded him of all the circumstances which I remembered where he pulled me through. I reminded him, I was talking him as I'm talking to you right now. And imagine I'm in the car and I'm with people. This is loud enough. They're hearing everything I'm talking. And I was like, Father, I need you to come right here. I need you to prove yourself that you can come here. I'm not a candidate for what they're planning to do to me. And I am not going to accept that. I need you to refuse with me. And I was talking to God. We stopped at another place. One of the guys jumped out of the car, went in, he came back, and he said, Ibemile, and that's a slang word, which means that it's not working. And I'm sure they were looking for a raping spot, and there was someone there that they wouldn't be able to do that in that house. They went to another one, same response, Ibemile, meaning, it can't work, it's not working again. They went to another spot. They stopped. The guy jumped off the car, ran in, came back, Ipemile, and after the 3, maybe about 4 of them, we then started driving around the township. And that at that time, the amount of beatings meant nothing to me because I was feeling numb. I wasn't feeling any pain. I was almost like in my own space. I was in another world. I was like saying, Lord, I know you. And I think I remembered the story that my grandmother had shared with me about the accident that I had, as you can see here, that I had when I was very small. And the doctors, when I was brought in, they thought that I should not have been alive. And she shared with me that story. And I remembered, I said, Lord, I've come out of much more serious circumstances, serious situations than this. So this is little to you. You can pull me out of this. And I promise you, Father, I will share about your goodness. And I'm saying this as loud as I'm talking to you right now. So I think they just gave up in trying to stop me to pray. But halfway through, it must have been about 2.5 hours of driving and of me talking. And I think I began to lose my voice because I was really I was feeling like I needed to talk louder than the music that was in the car. So I was really shouting, if you may, So then, and I was feeling like my voice was taking a toll on that. So then they switched off the radio. They stopped the car, and this guy said, "Can you keep quiet a little bit?" And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Yes, you may." He says, "Okay." Before I talk to you, he then switched on the radio and back to the same volume. And he called his very angry friend that was beating me outside the car. So I was curious. I wanted to listen to what they were talking about. And they started arguing about it. So this guy that was driving was probably in his mid-40s and the other one was probably in his late 30s. So he started saying, "You know what, we're carrying a wrong girl here. And I want us to take this girl home. And it's the first time we've picked up a girl and she never once cried about her mom or her dad. She's been talking about God and talking with God. And I'm feeling like there is a different ambience that is in this car. I don't think we are alone with this girl anymore." And he spoke about his hair that was shrinking and was feeling like his skin was moving and that he couldn't carry me anymore. And he didn't want me to be sweared at, and he really was uncomfortable. And he was telling this guy, and this guy was so angry with him, saying, "No, man, you can't be a coward. We've done this many times before. This girl is just taking chances with us. We have got to do this." In fact, he wanted to kill me when they were done, So this guy says, "No, I think that I have got to overrule you this time round. If you dare do anything to this girl, if we dare do anything to this girl, we're not going to see tomorrow. We will not be alive. I can tell you, I'm old enough. I'm older than you." So they argued. And eventually this one said, okay. Let's test her again. So they come back to the car. And this guy says, "Okay, jump out and go to that house and knock there and ask for so-and-so and come back." So I jumped out. Again, I went, and they, of course, promised me, "If you dare try something, we will kill you." And now this house, it was below road level. So I almost like disappeared completely, went to this house. So I knocked at the door, the granny opened, and she told me that the lady wasn't at home. I thanked her and I went back, and they saw me coming back. And the guy that was driving, the mid-40s kind of guy, said, "This girl is so stupid, she should have run away right now, and she's coming back." And at that time when he said that, I thought, my goodness, I should have, but I couldn't now do it because I was right in front of them. So I came back and reported what I found out from that house. And then this guy said, "Okay, can I talk to you? Don't pray anymore. Just keep quiet a little bit. Can I talk to you?" I said, "Yes, you may." He says, "Which church do you go to?" So I told him, "Where is home?" I told him. "What grade are you doing?" I told him I'm in grade 12. So he said, "Who taught you to pray?" So I told him, "It's my grandmother." "And do you always pray?" I said, "Yes." So he says, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I said, "No." And then he said, "Okay, if we took you home right now, what will they say? I said, they would be very happy. And then he said, no, most girls would say, no, don't take me home. They're going to be upset that I'm coming home late and all of that. I said, sir, they'll be very happy they see me, because I know right now they're very worried that I'm not home. I've never been away from home at this time. And it was around about 9 p.m. at this time. So anyway, they asked me to give them directions, but condition is don't pray anymore. So I said, okay, so long as you allow me to thank God. So they say, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I was almost like I didn't hear. And I started to say, oh, Daddy, thank you. Thank you, Daddy. And I was crying at that time. I said, I've known you and I know you're able. And I know you're able to do this. And I know you came through and I know you were here. So as we were driving, I'm just talking and like, saying, thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Thank you. And this guy is looking at me. I can see he's driving, but he keeps checking me through the rearview mirror. And he then says, pray for me too. I said, okay. He says, not now, not whilst I'm here. I said, okay. And then I continue. So when they took me to a bus stop next to my house, now I got a free ride. I couldn't get a taxi. I got a free ride. Of course, I had sustained so much beating, but I got a free ride. When they dropped me, they stopped the car and this guy said, thank you so much. You are a good girl, the driver. You're a good girl and keep up the good work and please remember to pray for me. The guy that was very angry, so unhappy with what was going on. He was so angry. He said, next time you will not survive and next time you will not come out alive. So I think he must have tried to come out with a gun because he wanted to shoot me as soon as I stepped out of the car. And this guy grabbed him and grabbed the gun. So he walked out and I don't know where he got a stone as big as a brick. And he hit me on my thigh and I went down. I fell. And then I only could hear the noise of the wheels as they took off, they left. And I stood up and went to my house and I found my dad. I was purple, and that whole weekend I was blue. And on Monday I was writing my English paper, my final exam, and I had to drag myself. I was as fearful as anything. I was so scared. I hated men. I was so scared of any man, and it so happened that these were police, and I couldn't bear seeing a police vehicle. From that moment on, it took me about 3 to 4 years to get the experience out of my system. And I wrote and I passed my exam. So when I sing a song, God is able, it's because I have experienced God's abilities. I was in a tight corner. I was in a life and death situation. Many people didn't survive. Many people came out gang raped. Many people came out not alive, dead. And I came out alive. And I can't thank God more. And I'm saying that if He could do it to me, I believe He can do it today to anybody. And I always pray that, Lord, just as you came through for me, I believe you will come through. For those little girls that are picked up, abducted, I still believe in the God that pulled me out of that situation. And I do know that many are going through very difficult circumstances. I just want to say He is able. Thank you.